what it was like when you were in addiction. Tell me what your addiction was like. Tell me how bad it was, and uh, and then tell me how Ronnie helped you get out of it and what he's done for you. And yeah, let's just start there.
Cool, brother. So, yeah, my addiction was pretty horrific. I started using pretty young. Um, just started smoking pot and drinking. Sort of started off like just one, at school experimenting, want to be at the party, and I just loved it so much, So I stopped going to school when I was about 14, and sort of just that disease I have, it progressed. So I started dabbling with the speed around 15, 16. And as soon as that happened, I just started breaking into houses and cars and that, just started living that life of crime. When I was about 16, I started on heroin, and I was just hooked. I was zero. I had nothing. I went into prison the first time when I was 18. I got sentenced to 3 years. That's when I first met Ron. So I actually saw Ron then when I was 18, and he'd come into the boys' yards and do some boxing and stuff. But I didn't know anything about recovery then. But that's when I remember Ron had this presence as well. He wasn't just like one of the old crims that would like egg people on to bash people, and he always had this aura, like just someone that I didn't know what it was, but I knew it was something different. And then fast forward, I did a 3-year lag, and then I got out, and I remember like I had all the best intentions. I'm going to get a job. My dad lined me up a job at the Meatworks, but I just wanted to have that first shot. I was obsessed with it, and then I had it, and I was back in jail 3 weeks later after being in for 3 years. And when I got back, I was just like, how did that happen? I didn't know anything about addiction or the disease. And it must have been towards the end of that sentence. So I got another 2 years. So towards the end of that sentence, I was at Barallan. And again, I'd seen Ron around the traps in the prison, but and respected him because he had this something different, but I didn't know what it was. Then when he was in that drug unit, at Barallan, I learned about recovery and NA, and it's like I pinch myself to just even talk about it now, like thinking about how far, I'm the sort of person, because I come from a broken home, my mum's an addict and all that, and I grew up constantly around it. I wasn't the sort of person that would get out and go, I'm just going to go to an NA meeting. Like I honestly believe without Ron being there, like it was divine intervention just for me. He was the sort of person that had principles, was tough. Like no one else would have got through to me. Like I respected him. So everything he shared around his recovery and that, like there was 30 blokes of us in that unit. Not one of us was using, I know for a fact, because whenever someone did, we'd all, as addicts, would see it. So it was only happening only rarely, but 30 men that I knew through that whole 5 years in the prison system who were like hardcore users and like what you call tough cunts, were not using and talking about feelings and spiritual principles. And I had this moment, and so I was like, wow, like I didn't have drugs and I had nothing external until I was in a prison cell, but I felt happy inside. And I was like, yeah, so the seed was planted then. That was like the seed was planted. And as a result of doing that unit, my behaviour changed. The bravado, bullshit, trying to fight and all that went away. I got a good, I forget what they call them. They must do reports on you or something. And I applied for parole just on the whim. Like I'd never applied for parole before, but I tried and I got it. I got parole to a rehab. Didn't cope well. I was sort of because I was just very institutionalised, but the seed had been planted. And I think, so that in that unit, that drug trial, that was 2009. So by then, fast forward to 2011, I got out of jail again. And I just knew where to go. I just went to meetings. I went back, I surrendered. I've been clean since 2011 now. And so I'll be coming up to 10 years clean. And Ron was my sponsor when I was in jail. And that time, this was my first 4-step. And it wasn't until about 3 or 4 years ago, I moved away as well. So I live remote now. And as a result of being clean, I can live a life beyond my wildest dreams. Like I went back to uni, I did a university degree. It's being able to travel overseas, all this stuff. I was just a street kid, and because of being in recovery, like I've been given this this gift. And because I was living remote, my program started to falter a little bit because Ron knew me since I was a kid. He'd always be reaching out, and he said, "Who's your sponsor?" And I had another sponsor at the time, but I wasn't really using him. He goes, "Mate, something's got to change," because I had that trust, and we sort of didn't want to. We never sponsored again on the outside because it's not always the best because of that crim mentality. And we didn't want to bounce off. Like if I go to Ron and I'm thinking like this, he said it might be better to have someone else because I'll sponsor you. He's been sponsoring me for probably the last 3 years. And as a result, like I'm back in a step work riding. My life is it's been good, the whole recovery, but it's just taken it to that next level. And Ron's ability is like how old he is and his wisdom. Like, I just know when I go to him, he's not going to bullshit. Never. He's one man. They'll just respect. We'll call a spade a spade. He's not going to piss in my pocket or sugarcoat anything. He tells me what I need to hear, and I trust. Like, I was only talking to him last night, and I'm here staying at his house, and there's not many people that come and stay at his house, you know, and it gives me a key. Like, to me, that just shows how much I've changed and the trust and that relationship we have together. And I fucking honestly, I'll get emotional about it if I keep talking, but I honestly believe I owe my life and my recovery to this man.
Dude, that's one of the most amazing stories. I'm fucking crying. I've been in recovery a long time, and it's right. I heard some powerhouse shares with it. Fucking right up there, man. Fucking.
Thanks, brother. Yeah, I'll feel it in my chest now. Like, I can feel, and I can only feel.
Me too. I feel.